Hey guys, how you doing today? Just went grocery shopping, heading on home. Ah, man. So, keep reading about the Liberal Party and the basic income, and an article came out in the Huffington Post today how a couple of Liberal insiders are saying that basic income's not going to be part of the throne speech, and I tend to sort of agree with that, because while all the signs are in place for a basic income to be passed, I just think the Liberals have shown over and over again that they are politically weak, and I just think the NDP have also shown they're also politically weak. That while what's more likely, like, you've got to think, right? The Liberal supporters, the people who are actually going out and voting Liberal, right, aren't people who are living on the streets. These people are not Liberal supporters. They're not rah-rah Liberals. Most likely, these people don't vote at all. And the reason they don't vote is because no one in the establishment structure is actually interested in helping them. Nobody's actually saying, oh hey, there are these people who have been abandoned by the capitalist structure. Maybe we should actually, give a shit about them. So when the Liberals say, like, oh, we're doing EI reform, right? What this means is it's a reform for people who are a part of the capitalist system, who are just fluctuating in their employment, right? So EI is a temporary measure. It runs out eventually. The entire idea of EI is can essentially be boiled down to starve them out, right? That we as a society have gotten to a point where we're willing to accept a certain degree of will allow a certain degree of support for a person who is unemployed, but we refuse to acknowledge and refuse to believe that anything outside of the capitalist structure is legitimate. So the Liberals will do a reform to EI, and I've seen articles on this, and there are people who will be worse off. They'll receive less support in an EI system, and in this new reformed EI system, and it's like, to a degree where I'm like, most of the people who are going to receive less support are in Ontario, which is like where the Liberals require their votes, right? When Liberal support collapsed under Ignatieff, the seats that got the Conservative majority were in Southern Ontario. And now you're telling me that the Liberal plan is going to give less support to people in Southern Ontario? Like, I am just kind of coming to a point with these Liberals where I'm starting to say, like, are you delusional? Like, are you just stupid? Like, are you trying to lose? And the answer seems to be a very clear and resounding yes. That it just seems like these Liberals are taking the support they have for granted, which Liberals never should. Their support has always been soft and has always been conditional, right? Liberal support has always been conditional on one of two premises. Premises number one, things won't get worse under a Liberal government, right? Lots and lots of people vote for Liberals because they're afraid of the Conservatives. That's a constant thrum and a constant narrative that I'm voting. I would rather vote Green or NDP in my riding, but I'm going to vote Liberal because I'm concerned that the Conservative will get in. And we all know what the Conservative ideology is. And so we vote Liberal to at least make it so that things will remain sort of as they are now, which is not great, but it's going to be worse under Conservatives. So And then premise number two, sometimes the liberals do improve things when it becomes obvious politically that they must. And I genuinely believe that we are in this moment where they must act, right? They must. But it looks like they're not going to do the right thing. They're going to do something that looks like the right thing, right? Like, the CERB was the right thing to do, but making it temporary is the wrong thing to do. It needs to become permanent. And it needs to become universal. It can't simply be extended to people who were part of the capitalist system and are just fluctuating out of it with the hope that, they'll just float right back to the capitalist system and everything will be hunky-dory fine again, because capitalism is collapsing, right? It's collapsing right in front of our eyes. I just keep going back to this Rand study. And the Rand study came out and they were saying, we're shocked that there was such a huge relocation of money from the bottom to the top. And it's like, guys, it's 2020. Like, you're shocked? Like, where are you? And this has really kind of widened how I think about our politicians and about our political structures and about the people who are involved in making these policy decisions and in our educational institutions, is that they're delusional. Like, they're outright out to lunch, completely and utterly delusional. They don't know what's going on in the society, and they're saying things like, oh, well, we found out something that everybody has known for the last 20 years. It's shocking. Like, yeah, dude, we've been shocked for 20 years. For 20 years, we've been watching you barbarians rape us. Like, we've been watching you rip apart the country. We've been watching you tear down any edifice of rational thinking or empathy or compassion. And it's been shocking. We've watched it happen. We know. And now you're waking up and going, oh wow, we're shocked too. Like, welcome to the club. Glad to have you. Stop talking. Like, stop talking. Your time to talk is over. We don't think you're serious. We don't think you're credible. If it's taking you this long to figure out what frigging children have figured out, like, if you're a child living in the United States, you figured it out, right? You know where the power lies. You know who has the money. You know who doesn't have the money. It's pretty obvious. Like, and if you're a child living in Canada, we still have this edifice, right? Because we've erected basic income style projects for children. That's what the child care benefit is, right? Not a liberal program, by the way. Conservative program. Not a liberal program. The child care benefit was put forward by Stephen Harper, right? And it's a sad thing to say, like, boy, do I wish these conservatives would actually stand up and say, hey, you know what? We passed the child care benefit. That's a basic income for children. Why aren't we passing a basic income? Like, if Aaron O'Toole stood up and said, yeah, I'll pass a basic income, I'd vote for him in a second. I wouldn't even think about it, right? Wouldn't. That's how you get my vote. And it looks to me like these liberals are really working overtime to try to figure out how to not get my vote. And I really am to a point where if making the CERB permanent, folding it into a basic income, if the liberals aren't saying something like guaranteed livable income, basic income, annual income, universal income, if they're not using that kind of language while simultaneously putting something in the budget to reinforce that, I just don't see why we should take them seriously. Like, they're to me, they lose credibility every single time they speak. And while I do think, like, when there was an emergency, when there was like a red flashing light and like people are going to be homeless, people are going to be on the street, people are going to be evicted from their homes, the Liberals made the right choice by passing the CERB. The fact that they're even now, days away from the throne speech, dickering around and pretending like they can get away without making the CERB permanent is just the height of capitalist subservience, right? It's bootlicking. That's really what it is. It's just bootlicking. The idea that they're going to continue stringing people along, pretending as though what isn't necessary, like that the basic income is not completely necessary, which it absolutely is. What are you going to do, right? You're going to evict 1 million people, right? You're going to evict 1 million people over Christmas? Really? That's what you're going to do? You're going to say to 1 million people, because the CERB ends end of September, right? And you know what they're going to do? They're going to kick it down, right? They're going to kick it down because what they're doing super clearly, and anyone who thinks otherwise has got kind of a nail in their forehead, right? What they're doing is they're trying to scare people so badly into believing they're going to lose their benefits or lose their support system, so that they're forced back in to the capitalist-dominated market, where people have to sell themselves into wage slavery. And instead of saying to the populace, okay, you know what, we're just going to clear this out, we're just going to make it nice and clean, basic income is permanent now, the CERB is permanent now, anybody who needs it, anybody who needs support, right, apply, or don't even apply, right, just give it to people, just create it as a part of the tax system, and be done with it, right? Drop the anxiety, let people live their lives, right? Let's stop pretending like, why, like, and my question constantly becomes, like, why are we subserviating ourselves to this class of capitalists? What are they doing for us? Because when you actually look at it, the answer is nothing, right? They're parasites. They've attached themselves to the side of the society, and everybody does the work, and they just take all the profit from that work and jam it into offshore accounts, right? They're just parasites. And the idea that, like, the Liberals are doing anything except licking their boots when they mouth words about, oh yeah, we care about a green recovery, oh yeah, we care about supporting Canadians, well, then do it, right? Then support Canadians. Stop dicking us around, right? All they're doing is playing petty politics with our lives, right? They're constantly putting us in a state of anxiety. They're constantly putting us in a state of fear, so that we can never find our bearings and actually organize and figure out how to defend ourselves from these assaults from the capitalist class, who shouldn't exist at all. They should be eliminated from the society, banished at best. And these Liberals, like, I really am at a point where it's like basic income or bust, man. And if they're going to turn around and they're going to tell me, no, we're not going to, oh, we'll reform EI, or, oh, you know, we'll slide a little bit, you know, bye. I don't need you, right? Like, if you tune into this channel, you are going to hear me say things like, we need to be restructuring our economy into a war economy. We need to have been doing that 20 years ago. We need to be restructuring our entire university system, our entire high school system. All of our focus needs to be on how we solve this climate change crisis that we are facing right in front of us. We need to be restructuring our economy to ensure that every single person gets food, shelter, and clothing. We need to guarantee that that is a thing that happens. We need to banish the capitalists from that system. We need to ensure that they are not price gouging us or trying to siphon away money for themselves, jam it into offshore accounts, right? They're the enemies in this war. Do you understand? They're the reason we're in this war. And we need to be facing that, and we need to be winning a war. And our leaders are like, I guess we'll put in a little temporary, so that you gotta sell yourself back into a billionaire-dominated market. But, if you can't, maybe we'll keep... get rid of these guys. Get rid of them. Goodbye. You had your chance. Your chance is now, right? The Liberals' chance is now, in my view. And they're going to whiff on it. They're completely going to whiff on it. And that's going to be the son of Pierre Elliott Trudeau's legacy, is that he almost did the right thing, right? Or he'll pass the basic income and actually do the right thing. And my view is that, like, the Liberals are going to put forward a pretty left-looking budget, only left because we've been so far in the right that anything that, like, any government spending is considered leftist at this point. So we're going to have some deficits, and we're going to spend some money on some programs. I suspect most of it will just be handouts for corporations. Right? It will be called a green economy, but really it'll just be more of this idiotic, oh yeah, we'll erect a solar farm that ends up actually being a gas plant, that kind of thing. And the entire time this is going on, the NDP is just gonna, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll prop up these Liberals, okay. Yeah, okay. Like, the NDP's no better, in my view. If the Liberals aren't going to put a basic income on the table, the NDP should call the election. And they should make the election issue the basic income. That's what the election issue should be. It should be, hey, shouldn't everyone have food and shelter guaranteed? Isn't that something that every single individual should have guaranteed, baked into their society? And if they can't manage that, right? If they can't figure that out, then they're no better than Liberals, right? They're just... like, where's the backbone? Like, we're in a war. We need warriors. We need people fighting. We need people fighting tooth and nail. And really all we're getting is just people who are bought off by the gas and oil industry, which is the cause of all this in the first place. Like, I am getting to a point. If somebody stood up, and I wouldn't even care who, if somebody stood up and said, oh yeah, we're going to go after charges for Enron, like they knew all about this climate change stuff in the 70s, right? Yeah, we're going to go after all of those guys. We're going to make sure all of those guys are hung. Yeah, you got my vote. For sure. Absolutely. Because, like, are we going to wait for the food shortages to start? Looks like. So, once again, the Liberals disappoint. We'll see, but I think the writing's on the wall. Okay, guys, that's the end of me. Good luck out there. Go meet your neighbors. Like, share, subscribe.